many youths are coming up and submitting so many research proposals relating to our liberation war and genocide. This gives us really hopeful and makes us really hopeful that in future the history will be preserved by the new generations, and it will be going on, and we are really hopeful, and that's why we try to address this genocide and the struggle of our people.
We welcome you all to the TWR Global Vigil session presented by the Liberation War Museum of Bangladesh. It is a privilege and honor for us from Bangladesh, a nation that became victim of one of the worst post-World War II genocide, to be part of the 24-hour global visit to confront and prevent genocide and unite in the fight against hate worldwide. Liberation War Museum joins the coalition of Together We Remember with a common commitment to transform remembrance into action. Bangladesh Liberation War Museum started its journey in March 1996 at a rented two-storied colonial building as a citizen's effort to memorialize. Slide, please. It is a private museum which turned into a people's institution with the strong support of the community. The museum became a rich depository of history with donation of documents, artifacts, memorabilia, etc. by people from home and abroad. The space of the museum became a platform for various cultural, social, historical, and research activities. Bangladesh Genocide attracted global attention in 1971 as the unfolding tragedy of victimization was widely reported, and democratic people everywhere expressed their solidarity with the struggling Bengali people for their emancipation. Close the slide. But unfortunately, the major Western powers sided with the military rulers of Pakistan. The United Nations debated the refugee crisis and political problem, but was silent on genocide. Internationally, that was the era of almost 40 years of silence after Nuremberg Tribunal and adoption of Genocide Convention in 1948. Bangladesh genocide soon became a forgotten genocide for the international community. But Bangladesh, as a victim nation, continued its struggle for remembrance. The struggle of memory, truth, and justice is at the core of the Liberation War Museum's inspiration, hope, and action. Slide, please. The museum has earned strength over the years and got a piece of land from the state where new museum was built. The next slide. Where the new museum was built with support of the government and the people. The new museum, with many modern facilities and 4 large galleries, has opened its door on 17th April 2017. The museum has a library and rich archives on Bangladesh Liberation War. We are ready to offer our services to academics and researchers to study comparative genocide or Bangladesh history. The architectural design of the new museum also emphasized on the importance of research, study, and learning. The research and library wing, which is the section that pop out of the main structure, as you can see in the photo, that pop out of the main structure to point to the future. We are also ready to host interns or do joint or collective program. We hope to make the Liberation War Museum a hub of genocide study in the Asian region and seek collaboration of all. Close the slide. Meanwhile, the nation has taken important steps to ensure justice for international crimes. We are happy to note that the members of the younger generation are associated with many activities of the museum. The Center for the Study of Genocide and Justice of the museum is vibrant with young participants, as it is with the other programs that the museum runs. This year, Bangladesh is observing 50th anniversary of its independence, as well as that of Bangladesh genocide. We are organizing various events to highlight the 1971 genocide. The coalition, Together We Remember, is the right kind of platform for us, and we are confident that collectively we can work to bring back Bangladesh genocide in the map of global genocide. We want to look into the past, not only to understand what happened, but also why it happened. This will help us to make never again a reality and make the bondages of humanity stronger to face the rise of hate campaign, religious extremism, xenophobia in society, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, which also calls for common action of the humankind. With great hope in our solidarity and emphasis on action, I hand over the responsibility to conduct this session to our younger colleagues. I invite Naureen Rahim, the coordinator of Center for the Study of Genocide and Justice, to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mofidul Haq. So today's topic is the 50 years of Bangladesh Genocide, Forgetting and Remembering. As the title says, we shall be discussing about the genocide of 1971 in Bangladesh, which was happened against the Bengali population by the Pakistan army. The horrific 9 months of the war in then Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, have experienced brutal deaths of millions, extreme torture, and pain against the Bengali intelligentsia, women and girls, and today, we shall focus on the history of Bangladesh and with introducing the Liberation War Museum as an institution preserving the memories of the tragic past of Bangladesh and sharing the stories of struggle to the world. We also aim at posing an appeal to the international community to recognize Bangladesh genocide. Today, both as speaker and as a moderator of this session, I, Naureen Rahim, will be with you throughout the session. Let me introduce you two other speakers of this session. We have Prithi Majbahim. She has done her BSS and MSS in criminology from the Department of Criminology, University of Dhaka. And also we have Sharjin Jahan Fiha. She is an LLM student of Jahangirnagar University in Bangladesh. So let's dive into the discussion now. I request Prithi to start her presentation, and perhaps I will be sharing the slides for her. So Prithi, it's your floor.
Thank you, Naureen, for giving me the floor. So before talking about the historical background of Bangladesh genocide, I would like to mention the fact that despite having overwhelming evidence like footage of the killings, the mass graves, and numerous eyewitness accounts, the intensity of Bangladesh genocide has not been widely recognized. Far from issuing an official apology, the Pakistani government continues to deny that such atrocities even occurred. So what happened back then? Let's take the partition of British in the foundation of contemporary Bangladesh. During the mid-August of 1947, on the basis of religious identity, the British India divided into two states, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was born as an Islamic republic under the leadership of Jinnah in 1947. Soon after the partition, Pakistan had emerged as a state consisting of two territories separated by 1,200 kilometers, the East Pakistan and the West Pakistan. So I will show a map of, yes. So you can see the vast land of India in between the two wings of Pakistan, East and the West, even though the majority of the population, more than 55% people, lived in the East Pakistan, including a large number of Hindus. West Pakistan started to dominate the East Pakistan from the very beginning. The West Pakistan, which is now the Pakistan, controlled all over administrative and the political decision making. The capital of Pakistan, as well as the headquarters of the Army, Navy, and the Force of Pakistan were all located in the West Pakistan. People of East Pakistan had been striving for their rights, their freedom for many years. The people of East Pakistan faced racial, political, and cultural discrimination. The East Pakistanis wanted to establish a multicultural state consisting of both Hindus and the Muslims. However, the Hindus were a constant source of irritation to the leaders of West Pakistan. Cultural, economic, territorial, and political factors were the main indicators of deprivation and discrimination against the Bengali population in East Pakistan, which contributed to the national independence movement. Urdu was forcefully made as the state language, whereas the majority of Bengali population used to speak in Bangla. The Bengali language, as well as various practices of Bengali Muslim culture, were considered un-Islamic by the West Pakistanis. While the language issues was the core of the conflict during the 1950s, economic and cultural problems came to the fore afterwards. Most of the foreign currencies were earned by exporting goods from the East Pakistan. However, almost all the higher positions and employments were offered to those who reside in the West Pakistan. In the educational sector and development agendas of Pakistan, the East Pakistan was given the least priority. Such domination outraged the Bengali people of East Pakistan, which resulted in the language movement in 1952. A number of people and students who demanded for Bangla to be their state language got killed. With the growing discontent in East Pakistan, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman presented the 6-point program. He was East Pakistan's popular political party, Awami League's leader, and the 6-point program was rejected by the government. And later in June 1967, Sheikh Mujib was arrested and implicated in a conspiracy case. Due to a mass upsurge in 1969 in East Pakistan against these fake charges, the government dismissed the trial. The conflict took a new turn with the victory of democratic movement in 1969. Mujib was released, dictator Ayub had to resign, and power handed over to General Yahya, who promised an election. The very first national election was held in 1970, in which Sheikh Mujib's Awami League obtained 167 of 300 national seats, whereas the Pakistan People's Party owned only 81 seats. However, the military to hand over the power to Sheikh Mujib, and hence in Rest and the West Pakistan, the Ramna racecourse in Dhaka on 7th March 1971. It is to be noted with immense pride that the horrific March historic March 7th speech of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, has been recently recognized by the UNESCO as a World Documentary Heritage. In the coming days, in March 1971, peaceful protest turned into a violent fight between demonstrators and the armed forces as the only solution to stop the political crisis and increase the control over East Pakistan. The Pakistani army officially launched its campaign of genocide in East Pakistan on 25th March 1971 by unleashing the death squads that killed 7,000 unarmed, innocent Bengalis in one single night in Dhaka. The original plan was to take control of the major cities on March 26 and then eliminate all opposition, political or military, within 1 month. The military rulers' plan of attack, termed as Operation Searchlight, reflected the intent to destroy the Bengali nation as well as Hindu religious group. This planning for the genocide was similar to the Wannsee Conference of 1942, which was called as the final solution to the Jewish problem. The prime targets of Operation Searchlight were the Dhaka University teachers and students, armed civilians, members of Army League, Hindu population, and Bengali intellectuals. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was arrested after the midnight, minutes after he declared Bangladesh independence in response to the bloodbath. Over the next 9 months of the war, 3 million Bengalis were killed, thousands of women were tortured and raped. Around 10 million people fled the country to escape the brutality. Now, we will watch a 1971 documentary film by Bangladeshi filmmaker Johi Raihan, who went missing and believed to be killed by the Pakistani army. Raihan made this film by using video clips and photographs taken by him while he was working on this documentary. So let's watch the documentary now. I would like to start. Thank you.
Dateline, Bongao, July 20. Stop. It wasn't difficult to find them. They were coming like an endless procession of sleepwalkers. As if instinctively, they moved on. Stop. They carried on their heads their last worldly possessions. Stop. Some faces reflected the horror enacted before their eyes only a few days ago. Stop. On other faces prevailed a layer of stunned indifference. Stop. As if after such a seemingly endless journey, it didn't really matter whether they were dead or alive. Stop. Their unspeakable suffering made us wonder, for what crimes must they go through this terrifying ordeal? They didn't know. Neither did we. But we all wanted to know how long must the world allow Yahya and his accomplices to go on committing genocidal crimes against such innocent people? Stop. Clearly, they have been walking for days, without food, without sleep. The fatigue was killing, but they had to move on. They had to find safety before rest. Stop. And rest did come at long last. Some found it under a tree, some in disused warehouses. Stop. There are many refugee camps in India, but there could never be enough when the refugees arrive in hundreds and thousands by the hour. Naturally, new arrivals could not be accommodated in them. Stop. In another camp, we found a girl a little over 16. Her father was a shopkeeper in Khulna. The army entered their home during curfew hours. They looted all the cash and gold ornaments. Then she was flung onto the floor, and 6 of the army brutes raped her by turn, right in front of her family. Before they left, they lined up her parents, 2 brothers and uncle.
So I hope that you have seen the struggle of Bengali people. And as a documentary film, it is not only it doesn't not it not only records the events of the war in order to bring the trauma of Bangladeshis to global attention, but also it unmasks the condition and complexities of the war. So after the war, as a part of memorialization, the Liberation Museum was established in 1996. So it was the very first private museum in Bangladesh, which has archived numerous exhibits, images, and documents related to the Liberation War of 1971. The galleries in the museum display the struggle of the people of Bangladesh for establishing their identity as a nation under the British regime, as well as their struggle for democracy, political and economic emancipation from 1947, and finally their armed struggle during the 9 months long War of Liberation in 1971. Apart from the galleries, it has built a rich archive and library resources. As the museum has a significant contribution in the memorialization of Bangladesh genocide, it runs several projects to preserve the memories of the Liberation War of 1971. One of the major projects was the Oral History Project that started in 2001, and so far 45,000 oral testimonies were collected and published in 7 volumes. The Liberation War Museum also arranges discussions, seminars, and conferences as the part of memorialization. Also, it encourages the young generation to be a part of it. I have worked with the Liberation Museum in several projects, and I'm working with them since 2016 as a volunteer. I hope Noreen will explain it better, and now I will give the floor to Noreen again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Priti. I will be following the discussion on the Liberation War Museum and its activities. As part of this museum, as part of its activities, basically the Liberation War Museum has contributed a lot in documenting the testimonies and evidence of the Birangonas. The Birangonas are the victims of sexual violence in 1971 war, and the government actually named them as Birangonas, which means the war heroines. And through displaying into the galleries the narratives and struggle of the victims in its galleries, the museum has tried to portray their struggle and to honor them as the nation heroes. And also, apart from this, the Liberation War Museum's archive has already preserved the testimonies of the victims of sexual violence, identified them and connected with them to different organizations who have already rehabilitated the victims, and also taken care of the evidence and other issues relating to the victims of sexual violence in the tribunals. Also, some research activities has also been taken. And as you can see in this image, the Liberation War Museum has always tried to connect the youths with the Birangonas. And as part of this work, basically, as you can see, the university students, few days back on the occasion of 26th March, Independence Day of Bangladesh, they actually inaugurated, one of the Birangonas inaugurated the big paint, the road paint done by this university students. And this is how we try to encourage the young generation and to get connected with these victims of sexual violence. As you can see, the after result of this painting in our museum premises. And also we have tried to look for the war babies, and as the war babies were the ultimate result of the victim, the sexual violence in 1971. And so many of them were unnoticed, and the government, even government tried to do the adoption process. And so many individuals and organizations, international organizations have lent their hands to name them, to identify them and give them a better life. And the Liberation War Museum has also supported this idea, and they honor those individuals who have tried a lot to honor and give a better and safe place to the war babies. And one of them is Bonnie Cappuccino, who adopted quite a few war babies at that time. And she has come into the museum for several times. So this is the images that you can see. So now we will be quickly move on to the real footages of the then situation of the Birangonas and war babies. So can I request the host to show the video images, the footages to the audience, please?
They are very young, some only 13 years old. In a few cases, their parents have abandoned them. In others, their husbands have rejected them. About 70 have had abortions, and those who have had their babies plan to give them away. Most of the girls here were held prisoner by the Pakistani troops in the army barracks.
I was raped by 3 soldiers, and in front of my own husband and child.
She says that her husband was in the Mukti Bahini. He was a commander of the force, in the village. And this army people were looking for him, and they had broken into her house. One of them turned back and raped her in front of her husband.
না দেখলে আমার মনে জ্বালা যাবে না বলবো যে ওই খুনি ছিল ওই আমার ছেলে মেয়ে স্বামী সব খুন করেছে আর কি করব
৭১ শুধু আমার জন্য নয় সমগ্র বাংলাদেশের জন্য সমগ্র মানুষের জন্য যে একটা শোচনীয় দুর্যোগ এনে নিয়ে এসেছিল তার একটি শিকার আমাকে হতে হয়েছিল চরমতম শারীরিক এবং মানসিক সর্বপ্রকার নির্যাতনের শিকার হওয়ার পরে যখন আমি বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন হলো তা আমি অনুভব করলাম যেন সমাজের কাছে আমি খুব একটা সমাদৃত না তীব্র নিন্দার শিকার হয়েছিলাম
এই দেহ মোর পূজার দেউল হৃদয় বৃন্দাবন লীলা করে এইখানেতে নন্দের নন্দন পাখানাদার বাহিনী আমাকে প্রাণে না মারলেও আমার আত্মার মৃত্যু ঘটিয়েছে
দেখছেন আমার স্বামী আইছে নাহি কেউ আইছে নাহি আমার বাড়ির মানুষজন আইছে নাহি
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman has said that these women are heroines. They are the innocent victims of war, and the children they bear will share in their grief.
And they have become too much of a social burden to return back to their homes. We have been able to make a breakthrough in the age-old social customs that bar women from participating in the economic life of the community.
ah
Thanks so much. So as I was mentioning, apart from giving the audience, the victims a better place and also to respect them, we also try to support the existing International Crimes Tribunal, which was created in 2010, a domestic tribunal to prosecute the perpetrators of international crimes committed in 1971 genocide. So the Liberation War Museum has provided these testimonies of victims of sexual violence to the prosecution team of this tribunal and supporting evidence so that they can initiate the cases from their side. There is another important aspect of the Liberation War Museum, and that is preserving a killing field, identifying and preserving a killing field. In Mirpur, there has been a pump house where so many people, the Bengali civilian people, were slaughtered during the war, and with the help of the collaborators by the Pakistani army. And this place has largely been ignored for a long time, and very few initiatives in the state has been taken to preserve the killing fields. So the Liberation War Museum was the first institution which could identify this place, and with the help of authorities, they have tried to preserve it. And there have been so many programs and events happening in this killing field area to educate the past atrocities to the younger generation, and to narrate the stories, and to bring the victims to say that their story of struggle, as you can see in this image. Also, apart from this genocide prevention, and also to protect the victims of Bangladesh genocide, the Liberation War Museum has also established its Center for the Study of Genocide and Justice in 2014 in order to promote the genocide prevention through educating the young generation. And as part of its programs and other components, the CSGJ, the center, basically arranges winter school, which is a week-long residential training arranged annually, and also the month-long certificate courses on genocide and justice for the young learners, as you can see in the image. So far we have arranged 6 winter schools and 6 on certificate courses, and last year during the pandemic we arranged 2 online certificate courses on genocide and justice. We also offer junior fellowships and training sessions and workshops to our volunteers and young professionals. And also, we try to observe the important days relating to the masochistic crimes and commemorating the victims of genocide. So every year, on 9th December, the Liberation War Museum arranges different programs and seminars on observing the Genocide Commemoration Day through lectures, webinars, and seminars. And also another important aspect is the Bangladesh Genocide Day, which is observed from 2017 on 25th March. It's a very important day for the nation. And we try to observe this day by remembering the victims and their struggle. And there is the volunteers in the museum. The volunteers are the heart of this Liberation War Museum. They have contributed a lot, and they voluntarily work with us, learn with us, and try to promote genocide prevention and education through us. Not only by participating in the programs and winter schools, they also try to engage with us by organizing international conferences and presenting their own ideas and learnings. And also they have been involved in different research projects, and the research projects relates to short-term and long-term involvement of the research volunteers. One of the important project right now is the Rohingya research project. So our volunteer Sharjin will be explaining it to you, the roles of the volunteers and how this project has been dealt so far. So I give the floor to Sharjin to continue this presentation.
Thank you, Noreen, to give me the floor. So I will give an overview of the on the activities that have been conducted by the Liberation War Museum to support the Rohingya victims. So as you all know, that in August 2017, when the Rohingyas fled Myanmar because of the brutal military attack, Bangladesh, as a past victim nation of genocide, offered shelter and support to the victims of today. So to know the truth from the victims themselves, the volunteers of the center immediately formed a team and visited the Rohingya makeshift camps of Cox's Bazar in October 2017. The team extensively interviewed the Rohingya victims, eyewitnesses, and survivors, and found evidence of mass atrocities and human rights violences committed against the Rohingya communities. Next slide, please. Yeah. So you can see the volunteers from the first field visit. So they were taking the testimonies of the Rohingya victims. And after that, with all the testimonies, the center then published the testimony of 60 on crisis in the northern Rakhine state of Myanmar as a sequel of the Oxfam publication, which was the testimony of 60 on the crisis of Bengal on the 1971 genocide. After that, in February 2018, the Liberation War Museum, in collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh, conducted a field visit to the Rohingya makeshift camps to collect testimonies of the victims of sexual violence. And the team was formed in this way that they included counselors for the psychological support for the victims of sexual violence when they were telling us their stories. And the team also included interpreters to understand the Rohingya language. And the team prepared a questionnaire, open-ended questionnaire, maintaining ethical guidelines, Colombian protocol, and a consent paper for the interviewees. So the interviews were written and recorded with prior consent of the interviewees. So you can see the picture from the field visits. Then afterwards, the research team received a training from UN Women's Institute for International Criminal Investigations, again organized by the National Human Rights Commission Bangladesh. So after receiving this training, the volunteers again went to the field, the Rohingya makeshift camp, and again collected the testimonies precisely on the victims of sexual violence. And analyzing and compiling all the testimonies, the center then published the Rohingya Genocide compilation and analysis of survivors' testimony. So this book actually provides legal analysis of all the testimonies collected in light with the international legal framework. So you can see all the some of the volunteers when the book was published, and you can see me. And so after that. The museum jointly actually published a quilt of memory and hope with Asia Justice and Rights, AJAR. In this project, the Liberation War Museum and AJAR jointly conducted a participatory action research where the Rohingya women actually shared their stories through their hand-embroidered quilt, which actually helped them to share and help them in their healing process. Till date, 6 field visits have taken place. So this was it, and now I will give the floor to Noreen Rahim to conclude. Thank you.
So thank you, Sharjin. We are almost at the end of our session. So as part of this session, as a concluding remarks, we all would be requesting to all the organizations, the like-minded organizations, and who are actually working for the victims of mass atrocity crimes, and especially the international community at large, to acknowledge the Bangladesh genocide. It has been already 50 years that the genocide has been taken place in Bangladesh, but still the world hasn't recognized it properly, and we are still struggling to let the world know what has happened to the victims. And a large number of people were victimized by this genocide in 1971. And still, Pakistan hasn't recognized or acknowledged that genocide has been taken place by them. And also, we would like to acknowledge and observe 25th March as Bangladesh Genocide Day. As you all know, I have shown you in the slides that we already started observing from 2017 this Bangladesh Genocide Day on 25th March. Now, I would request to all the organizations and individuals who have already known the Bangladesh Genocide and its stories and struggle to observe 25th March in their own way and declare this as the Bangladesh Genocide Day. And apart from this, the Liberation War Museum and the center to which you got introduced today would expect future collaboration with the like-minded institutions and the individuals. We work in almost in the same discipline, and we share our knowledge. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us for this knowledge sharing between amongst us, and we would expect the existing volunteers and researchers in Liberation War Museum to be offered with internships, international study programs, exchange programs, or short trainings. If there is any organizations who would like to support us through engaging our volunteers in these meaningful contributions, then we would be really happy to get connected and also to continue our work together. So with this, we thank you all for listening for this long hour session, and thank you for joining us, and we hope to see each other again. And now we open the floor for question and answers. If there is any, then we would be happy to answer those queries. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. Thank you, Mr. Mofidul. Thank you to Priti and Sharjeen. What a wonderful and insightful, powerful, and challenging presentation. So for the question and answer, maybe I could start by asking and thanking you for your wonderful allyship and standing by the Rohingya survivors and victims of genocide. And so I wonder, you've been such strong allies to these people. Who do you think have been some of the strongest allies in standing by the survivors of the Bangladesh genocide?
Well, if I can give you a brief idea about it, when the genocide started in August 2017, and the people started to flow inside the territory of Bangladesh. The border of Bangladesh the gate was open for the refugees. This has a similarity with the 1971 experience when the Operation Searchlight was launched and the army started to continue the killing in all parts of the country. Then people had to flee to save their lives, and India opened its border on 29th March. And that actually helped us, many of them, of our people, to survive. And the same thing happened with the Rohingya refugees. And also, it has now been recognized that one of the first to receive the refugees were the local people of Bangladesh, the Bengali people who are on that side of the territory. They actually first give the support to the sudden influx of so many people. The schools were made shelters and makeshift homes and other things. So these actually links our 1971 experience with the Rohingya experience. At that time, the same thing happened to us, and we were given support to the other neighbors. And also, many of the people from Cox's Bazar took shelter in Myanmar. They were kept in camps, but they were given shelter and support. So this was back in the mind of the people, and our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina immediately visited the camps, and she made the commitment that we are a nation of 160 million people, and we can take care of thousands or if it is 1 million. This happened. So she also narrated that this reminds us of our refugee experience, and she was also refugee for a long time after the killing of her father of the nation, Sheikh Mujib. And also international community came forward. The different organizations, UNHCR, IMO, and other organizations, and also the various institutions which came forward and did collected testimony, projected the genocide to the world, like 45 Rights, like even US Holocaust Museum also done a very thorough study and published it. So there are organizations like that. And that also reminds us of our 1971 experience, when we were also supported by many institutions and people all over the world. The concert for Bangladesh in Madison Square Garden, or other events in UK or in other capitals. So it is the wonders of humanity. But also, like 71, the major powers are playing their political game. And it is very unfortunate that in the UN Security Council, no resolution can be taken. Even General Assembly has taken strong resolution, and more countries are supporting it. And we are seeing some shift in the scenario. And we will say that we joined with the Azar Asia Justice and Rights and did the work which has been presented here. So it is very important that we get connected. And also we say that whoever is coming from abroad is welcome, but we are in the place of occurrence. Bangladesh is part of the atrocity, as the people were displaced and then forcefully deported to Bangladesh. And we see that ICJ, International Court of Justice, and ICC has taken up the case, which is very, very interesting development, because Myanmar is not a signatory to the ICC statute, but they are part of the ICJ. And so this we have to actually strengthen this justice process, and that needs a global solidarity for justice process, and also to influence the governments to take more action. And now in Myanmar, it's another scenario, which has also a similarity with 1971 experience, when we win the election, but we were not been given the right to take control or to respect the people's verdict. The same thing has now happened to Myanmar. So I think we have a lot to learn from the past, but we have to strengthen this global solidarity. And we are there in the place of occurrence. We are ready to support in whatever way we can. We are doing it to other organizations like International Coalition of Sites of Conscience, or others who want to do some work in the camps. We have a similarity with the language and culture. And I think it is our responsibility, very big responsibility, but it is also global responsibility. And we find right kind of partners, but we look forward to more activity, more action in the global arena.
Right. Yes, and we're so gratified that you've joined this vigil program, because our hope from Together We Remember is that you will be able to find more of those partnerships and allies across the world who can help in this, as you say, a shared responsibility. So Noreen, I see you've come on screen as well. And did you want to also add something to that question? Otherwise, I have another question for you.
No, I think you can continue with your question. It's fine.
Sure. Well, so this, we're talking about a genocide that happened in 1971. And so one of the things in all the forms of collective memory that people think about is, how do you keep alive the memory? How do you educate the youth and pass on the responsibility to younger generations and the next generations. So maybe you could say a few words about the status of this sort of education in Bangladesh.
Well, as you have already seen in our presentation that we conduct the oral history project, it's very interesting. The youths in schools and colleges are asked to write a testimony from their own family members who were the survivors of this genocide, and to write in their own way and then send it to us. And this is how actually we try to preserve this. And also in our textbook, in our national curriculum, we try to address the issues of liberation war and the genocide that has happened before. So this is how actually the young generation of Bangladesh are trying to engage with genocide learning, and also learning the past of this state, and also from their own family members. In different platforms, the cultural platforms, they are also involving us a lot. And this is how actually they're learning, and from generations to generations, we are trying to impart this, our knowledge sharing with them. And for the university students, they have also their particular curriculum. They in each university there is a Bangladesh studies, where the students can learn the history and the international crimes that had been committed in 1971. So this is how actually through education we try to express our solidarity with the victims, and to educate young learners, and also engaging them in different research projects, research initiatives. It's very important to notice that there are so many youths are coming up and submitting so many research proposals relating to our liberation war and genocide. This gives us really hopeful, and makes us really hopeful that in future the history will be preserved by the new generations, and it will be going on, and we are really hopeful. And that's why we try to address this genocide and the struggle of our people to the international community as well, through our writings, through our activism, and through this education. So yeah.
Thank you for that answer. And I also appreciate your description of what gives you hope about the future of collective memory for the Bangladesh genocide. Previously in my conversations with Mr. Haq, I learned that he has a personal connection to the genocide. And Noreen, you're obviously from a younger generation. So I'm wondering, how did you become involved with the Liberation War Museum, and why are you participating in this work?
Well, that's a really interesting story I would like to share. I was back in 1996 when the museum started its functionalities in the previous location. My brother actually took me to the galleries, and that was the first time that I got to know the rich history of our liberation war, and I really got to know what has happened back then. And as I have already mentioned, that through the family members, actually we start learning about the horrific past and the struggle of our people. So back then, I really cherished those memories. And then when I was almost completing my undergrad studies, then I got to know that a month-long certificate course has been arranged by the Liberation War Museum, the center, and we are being offered for this course. And this is how I started learning the issues of Bangladesh genocide and its other legal issues, because I'm from the law background. And then I was offered an internship, and I really got pleased, because this is an institution where the youths are being portrayed, and also the youth's involvement in this process has been highly recognized by our respected trustees and officials. So this is how we started working together. And now, fortunately, through different involvements and research engagements, now I am coordinating all the programs and research of the Center for the Study of Genocide and Justice. So this gives me really hopeful, being hopeful for our country and country's prosperity. And also I love to share my learnings and my knowledge, whatever I have gathered from this institution, to my fellow colleagues and the students who are coming in this platform to learn about the genocides and ongoing crisis and the conflicts in the world. So this is how actually I got connected. And thanks for asking me the question. That was really interesting.
Sure, sure. Yes. Always interesting to learn. And thank you very much for your answer. So I see we only have 2 minutes left about, so I wanted to ask Noreen or Mr. Mofidul if you have any final words, or Priti or Sharjeen as well, if you have any final words that you'd like to share with our global audience. Oh, Mofidul, sir, you're on mute.
So let us listen to our young voices, then I may say one or two sentences. So Priti or Sharjeen or Noreen, please come up.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity, and also the Liberation Museum and the Center for including us in it. And I really had a great time here today, explaining my own history and sharing it to all of you. And I look forward to such opportunities in future as well. And I really wish the conference a success. Thank you so much.
So I would like to share that I feel really great to have this opportunity to work as a volunteer for the center, because I feel like we actually carry the obligation to actually carry the history, to preserve the history, and to do something to prevent future genocide or future mass atrocities. So I'm really lucky to be part of this conference, and I look forward to attend more programs with other organizations too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we are hopeful to see each other again, I hope. And now we will quickly move on to the lighting the candles session. We have already shared our story with you, and now we are in solidarity with other fellow institutions who are organizing rest of the sessions of this conference. So we are going to hand over our solidarity through this video. Thank you so much.